Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, which this evening is going to be led by Boy Scout Andrew Young. Andrew?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Andrew. Roll call, please, Mrs. Meltzer.
Thank you, Mrs. West. Here. Mr. Keys.
Here.
Mr. Pearl.
Here.
Mr. Cannon.
Here.
Mr. Argona.
Here.
Mr. Gilliam.
Here.
Mrs. Meltzer here.
Are there any additions and/or deletions to tonight's agenda?
There is one deletion, item 21, option for nonpartisan township offices, and an add-on, item number 23, request approval to display signs from May 16th to June 18th at various businesses, locations for fans' annual Run Drugs Out of Town event.
Is there anyone from FAN here this evening? Okay, then we can leave it where it's at, Mrs. Meltzer.
Yes.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl.
Yes.
Mrs. West.
Yes.
Mr. Keys.
Yes.
Mr. Cannon.
Yes.
Mr. Argona.
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam.
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes. Motion passes.
Thank you, and welcome to your Township Board meeting this evening. If there's an item you wish to discuss as it comes before the board, please come to the podium and clearly give us your name and address for the record. If there's something you'd like to say that's not part of tonight's agenda, and several of you have already done this, please fill out a public comment card to your left and the front of the room. We have 3 public service announcements this evening. Mrs. Meltzer has one regarding voting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cannon. For you that are in the audience, if you're residents of Clinton Township, and those of you that are listening as residents of Clinton Township, you would have all received in the mail this past week an absentee voter ballot application to become a permanent absentee voter because of Proposition 18.3, which allows a no-reason absentee. So we did send that out. In addition to that, it's actually a 4-processed piece of paper. We're trying to save money and reach out to the public to notify you about what's going on in terms of elections. Item 2 would be if you would like to offer your cell phone and email so that we can contact you through electronic means. It's much quicker, more accountable, and certainly cheaper. So that's another option on that card. And then, of course, if you are not a registered voter, you could register at the website as it's designated on the form. And then finally, on the back of it, which some people have not looked at carefully enough, but as every election, especially the one coming up, the presidential election, which we'll have 3 races in 2020, the presidential primary, the regular primary, and the general election. And as a result of Proposition 3, where people are going to be increasing their request for to be put on an absentee voter list, we're going to need more people to help process those ballots on Election Day. So if you're at all interested, of course, I'd love to have you sign up. You can come to the clerk's office, fill out an application. By filling that application out, it does not hold you to having to work. We'll call you when the election approaches, and if you're available and would like to work, it is a paid position. I'd love to have you guys sign up. So thank you for that, Mr. Cannon. I think I'm done.
Clarification, Ms. Meltzer.
Yes.
Are you saying that if you're already on the list, you don't need to fill this out, or you'd like them to fill it out all over again?
So if you're already a permanent registered absentee voter, you do not have to fill it out unless you are opting in for cell phone and email communication. Then you would need to fill that out.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Okay, the second one, we are accepting applications for summer employment. We cannot find enough people to help us with all the activities that we have here in the community in the summer. So please consider taking one of these forms on the way out. The application deadline is this coming Friday. Oh, wait a second. Friday, May 17th. You need to be 18. You do not have to live in the township. If you have any children, grandchildren that are looking for summer employment, this is a great place to get a start, a great resume builder. The second thing is this coming Saturday on the 18th, there's a Relay for Life being held at the Chippewa Valley Ninth Grade Center. We're very proud of that here in Clinton Township. It has spawned many other locations. They do need people to come to the track, the football field at the Ninth Grade Center to buy things from the kids and the adults who are doing things to help people who have cancer. It's a great event. There's a lot of great activities for people to do. It's very heartwarming. So please consider coming out Saturday to the Ninth Grade Center at Chippewa Valley. And with that, we'll take item number 1.
Mr. Supervisor, real
Yes.
quick, the summer jobs employment is there a stack of those out there? I think there's somebody in the crowd who would actually like to grab one.
Yes, there is a stack right outside the door.
You said 18 only, or is there any jobs that would be for younger people? That's it.
The Parks and Rec does take younger people, and they don't get paid, but they build a resume so that when there are openings in Parks and Rec, they're the ones who are considered first. I would highly consider that.
Yeah, that was,
Okay.
yep.
Thank you. Mr. Sowerby, no stranger to this chamber.
This is Mr. Sowerby, our state representative, who will be giving a legislative update. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, board members. Nice to be before you today. I'm going to present to you just some things that have been going on in Lansing this past few months. Mr. Chairman, how much time?
You have the floor until you're done.
Okay. Let me know if I'm going too long,
Okay.
please. So my name is Bill Sowerby. I'm the state representative representing District 31, which takes in all of Fraser, Mount Clemens, and a big chunk of Clinton Township here. Prior to my term, I'm in my second term, I was treasurer of Clinton Township, and then Macomb County Commissioner before that. The committees that I serve on this term, I serve on 3, all policy committees. I serve on the Education Committee. I also serve, new on it, the Local Government and Municipal Finance Committee. And I also serve as Minority Vice Chairman of Natural Resources and Outdoor Recreation Committee. The first thing I'd like to talk to you about is what's going on with the governor's budget. The governor has submitted that budget, as everyone knows. One of the highlights in the budget was fixing the roads. She has presented her first shot over the bow to fix that with a 45-cent gas tax increase to help pay for the $2.5 billion fix of the roads. That is, she has stated, would be offset by some changing factors for hardworking families, which would be a reduction in the, or an addition in the earned income tax credit, doubling it, and then repealing the pension tax, the senior pension tax that had occurred. There seems to be a lot of support for the pension tax repeal. The earned income tax credit still has to be vetted out. But the bottom line is, we all know the roads are in horrible shape. So this has been the big topic of the governor's, along with fixing education. She has asked for an increase per pupil in funding that. And so we're waiting to see what happens. I think she summed it up best a few days ago when asked by the press how it was looking on the budget. She used the analogy that if this was a baseball game, we're in the second inning. So it's early yet. It's in appropriations in both the House and the Senate. They are debating it regularly, so we're waiting to see. It's anticipated that we could well be going through the summer, not taking a summer recess that the Republican-led House and excuse me, Senate always does in the summertime. We could be working on this throughout the summer. Of course, the budget has to be approved prior to October 1st of this year, so things will be happening. Also, as I present things, if you have questions through the chair, I'm happy to answer them as we go along. The other issue that has been working along here is we had a successful land trust that was requested by this board, submitted to the House through my office, and that was the land trust fund that was actually brought before the House back in March. So on March 7th, that land trust fund, and it was a request for $250,000 to purchase a large parcel of land at George Park to help with that. And then additionally, $378,000 was requested for the Clinton River Spillway Project, which was to purchase 6.3 acres of land owned by the Intercounty Drain Board. Those came before the House on March 7th and were unanimously passed. They then went to the Senate after they passed the House, and that land trust, which is a series of appropriations for the land trust, that was passed April 25th in the Senate, so it's now waiting for the governor's signature. So that's exciting to have those dollars come into the township for those two projects. So stay tuned on that, but it's expected the governor will be signing that soon. Then we also had in the budget, revenue sharing is always a big issue in all of our communities. So the governor is proposing a 3% increase in statutory revenue sharing, in addition to the 3.2% increase in constitutional revenue sharing. So this is something also that she has recognized that communities need. Certainly, it's not enough for all the loss in revenue sharing that we have seen since the early 2000s, but this would certainly help. Other spending issues that the governor has placed in her budget is proposing $120 million to improve water infrastructure. Approximately $37.5 million would be dedicated to support lead and copper rule implementation expenses for local water systems. Her proposal also calls for $30 million for PFAS and PFOS and other contaminant cleanups such as lead. So everybody is aware of what's happening with the PFAS and PFOS issue in our state. Really came to light about a year and a half ago under the Snyder administration. This was brought to light. A lot of testing is going on. Actually, we're the state in the nation that has been doing the most amount of testing of the various sites as to what the contamination is leading to. And we have it right here in the Clinton River, and it's also off of Selfridge Air National Guard Base. It's a very serious problem up in Oscoda by the old closed Wurtsmith Air Force Base, very serious problem. Over by Grand Rapids, the Wolverine Worldwide Shoe Company, which is Hush Puppies, has a very serious problem. This is a material that is used in waterproofing, so thus Hush Puppies and Wolverine Worldwide use this material a lot over the years. It was used in making of Teflon, and it was also used in spray foam for firefighting of fires such as oil and gasoline fires. And thus the trainings that occurred at the bases regularly with that spray foam helped to contaminate the waterways right through to fire departments using this for training as well, and putting out fires such as oil tanker fires on freeways, other gasoline fires. It's something that is actually in most of the fire departments have this now. The state is looking at how we can replace that material with alternative spray foams that will not be as harmful to the environment. But this is a nationwide, worldwide problem, but a very serious problem. PFAS and PFOS, it's in all of us right now. But to some people, it's in even more intense, especially if they'd been in some of those contaminated areas and drinking from the well water, which was contaminated by it. So stay tuned on that very, very serious problem. We're going to continue working on that. And then lastly, there's $40 million for the Drinking Water Revolving Fund for forgiveness for local water systems that's used to improve water systems, green infrastructure, and energy efficiency. So those are some of the things she's presented in her budget to help assist communities. About 2-3 months ago, I reached out to you, Mr. Cannon. We asked for some budgetary requests that we could submit to the appropriations process for projects that are important to Clinton Township, and those were submitted to myself and to Senator Paul Bueno. Those requests have been submitted to our appropriations department, our appropriations committee. They're being reviewed. Just on the Democratic side alone, there's been over 300 communities that have made requests, but those requests are all being taken seriously and going through the appropriations request. So I'll keep you and the board informed as to if any of those come into fruition on the requests that were made. Then we do have some bills that have been introduced regarding Public Act 51. Co-sponsored that. That reforms the way the road funding happens across the state. Instead of paying by by road miles, it would be by lane miles. So there's been some reform packages that have been introduced, waiting for a hearing in the Senate or in the State House, and I'll continue
Good. Well, that's
monitoring that.
That's good. Is there any chance that any of these are going to get any legs, or?
To be determined. The Speaker of the House, the House itself is controlled by the Republican Party, where in the populated areas of the state, reforming Public Act 51 is extremely important to us. But it doesn't look like right now the numbers are there based on the rural numbers of State House members who favor the existing Public Act 51, which favors their more rural roads. That's why you drive up north, you see the roads constantly being repaved when we would have loved those roads as they had existed because they were in far better shape than our roads down here, but they get the money into their county road departments and road commissions and allocate it. And so because it's based on lane miles or road miles, they get a disproportionate more dollars than what we get down here based on the lanes that we have to pave. So stay tuned on that, but doesn't look like there is enough votes outside of the metropolitan areas to be able to garner the votes from the State House member. But we continue to be hopeful and work on those issues. The other, yes.
What about, is there any consideration of a petition statewide, since the population probably of the majority of where the people live would favor that change? Was anybody considering a petition drive to change the law?
I have not heard of any petition drive being garnered for that issue. Of course, as you know, any petition drive will certainly take a tremendous amount of people power to do, but I've not heard anything.
Mr. Aragona has a question.
Yes.
Of similar nature.
Yeah, Representative, since you're taking questions on PA 51, I was going to wait for you to end. But I was, a little while ago, I was in an event where one of the senators from the area, Senator Lucido, was speaking. He mentioned that he introduced a bill regarding registrations. And the bill, I believe, kept all registration taxes from wherever county they were in that county. So our taxes wouldn't go to Lansing, go through PA 51. They would go to Lansing, and then my car's here in Macomb County, my taxes come back. Is that something you've heard of? Would that gain any legs? Is that something you'd be supportive of? I understand you may not have read the bill since it's in a different chamber, so if you can't speak to that, that's fine. But can you speak to that at all?
Well, I'm familiar with the bill. It's something
Okay.
that Mr. Lucido has been talking about. It has a great potential, but again, it is, focusing money, redistributing the dollars a different way than they are now. And you've got to garner the support of those outlying senators, and if it came over to the House, representatives in those outlying areas. So stay tuned on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on that?
Obviously, roads generate a lot of questions.
Yes, and a lot of questions in Lansing, too.
Do you
Yes.
foresee any changes in the funding if, by some chance, or 45 cent, or some increase gets put through anytime soon?
The reality is, Mr. Supervisor, that we've got broken roads, broken infrastructure, and they've been neglected for years. The funding has not been properly allocated for so many different issues, and roads are one of those. There's no more kicking the can down the road and looking at other funding sources that are already existing. The state is pretty much, wrung dry of any kind of additional revenue that might be hiding in some other pot. It's going to take new revenue in order to fix these roads. I'll speak to an awful thing that happened in Lame Duck, I felt, and that was the supplemental budget that got passed in Lame Duck in December. It got passed on the last day in the wee hours of the morning, and it was a budget of $1.3 billion, the largest supplemental budget ever brought forward to the House. I voted no on that budget. I felt that those dollars there was a whole lot of pork in those dollars for various districts, dollars that could have gone a lot further, such as fixing the roads. And they instead got spent in the wee morning of the very last day of the lame duck session, and I felt that that was awful to put the incoming governor in such a bad spot and the people of the state when that $1.3 billion could have gone a long ways in helping to fix the roads. So, it is not going to be an easy fix, and we're going to have to find new funding for that.
Thank you.
Just briefly then, a few issues that I've introduced myself. I've introduced a bill, create mandatory kindergarten. And the reason for that is, most school districts, traditional public school districts, do have kindergarten now, but it's not required to attend kindergarten like it's required to attend 1st through 12 up through the time you turn 17. But we have a literacy problem in this state, and that literacy problem is not properly being addressed, and therefore our kids are falling farther behind in their reading skills. In fact, Michigan rates dead last in the Midwest on 4th grade reading requirements and one of the last in the nation. And we have this new measure that's going to be occurring this next school season starting in September, which is a bill that requires 3rd graders to take a reading test. That was passed in 2016 prior to myself coming to Lansing. The merits of the bill were okay to make sure that our kids know how to read, but there were no resources to get our children to that point to pass that 3rd grade reading bill. And it's expected that because these kids have not been properly prepared, the resources weren't there, there's going to be a tremendous amount of 3rd graders that won't be able to pass this test. So you're compounding the awful self-esteem that those kids at that age are going to experience being held back. Then you have the problem of where are you going to put them? Our classrooms are already over full. Now you're going to have a number of 3rd graders being retained in that 3rd grade class. That's not how to take care of the problem. This is something that the chairperson of education is expected to take up some legislation to try to fix before the school year. But in my opinion, if we're going to get our kids literacy prepared, it starts in kindergarten. Mandatory means that a parent would require to have to bring their kid to the class. Right now, those children, many of them are there on a full-time basis, but many may attend 1, 2, or 3 days a week, not every day, or may be pulled out for a week and then brought back. Those children are falling farther and farther behind. By having full-time mandatory kindergarten, then we're giving those kids a leg up, and you ask any instructor that those kids that are attending regularly in kindergarten are much better prepared and are showing real results. And it won't cost our schools much of anything because, like I said, most districts are providing kindergarten classes. This just makes it mandatory. Another bill that I've introduced is a bill dealing with oil spill fines. We all remember what happened with the Enbridge spill that occurred in the Kalamazoo River about a decade ago that created an awful environmental catastrophe there. And so what we have currently in the state is if you have an oil spill, it's $2,500 a day. Up to $2,500 a day. That penalty that you would pay for that spill, it's ridiculous. You know, if you're a big oil company like Enbridge, $2,500 a day is literally a drop in the bucket. My bill requires that it would be up to $500,000 a day. The only way you're going to get an oil company to expedite fixing the problem and stopping the spill is with real dollars. And that's what this bill does, is puts up to $500,000 a day on that oil company if they fail to respond and take care of that oil spill. That's what my bill does. That's been introduced to the House. The other one is a fracking public hearing. We all remember a few years ago when a West Bay oil drilling company set up in Shelby Township. And Shelby Township had a problem, it was about 5 years ago, where this oil well was set up and there was no public hearing or anything, and it caused a lot of consternation in Shelby Township. Same thing happened in Southfield. What this bill does is requires that so long as anyone from the public that is interested in this issue or a public official from that community just has to request of the DEQ, or which is called now the Eagle, that a public hearing takes place prior to any fracking facility being set up, that a public hearing takes place in that community. So that's been introduced. Then lastly, the Freedom of Information Act. We all know that at the local level, if somebody requests a FOIA through the clerk's office, through a particular department, or at the county level, you have to respond. However, the state is exempt from FOIA. State elected officials, the governor's office, Secretary of State, the Attorney General, they're all exempt from FOIA. That is not right. Transparency is extremely important, and being able to produce those records if an interested person from the public or the media is requesting it, that needs to take place. So this year, we did pass a FOIA bill in the House of Representatives unanimously, and that FOIA bill has been sent to the Senate. We're waiting, and we're hoping that they will pass the same thing, and the governor would sign that. Part of transparency is also financial disclosures. So we are one of 2 states in the country, us and Utah, that does not require state government, state elected officials, governor, secretary of state, attorney general, the entire legislature, and state judges to file financial disclosure forms to let the public know where their interests are in businesses they own, property that they own, immediate family members that may have business interests that are particularly of interest to the public, and property. And the whole purpose of financial disclosure is that if you are a decision maker, you're either passing bills or signing bills or fighting in court on issues, that you need to make sure there's no conflict of interest. And so I, along with a number of my colleagues in the State House, both Democrats and Republicans, are working on a financial disclosure bills that would hold all those state elected officials accountable so that sunshine can be let on this state and the public will know if there is any conflict of interest of an elected official at the state level to when they're making these decisions. So stay tuned on that. And I would like to close with the elephant in the room, and that's what happened last week, no-fault auto insurance. And as everyone knows, we have a huge problem with no-fault auto insurance. Our premiums are extremely high, and our drivers need rate relief. What happened last week on Wednesday was a surprise to most of the state and to all of the Democrats in the State House. So what happened early on in this current session was there was an agreement between the Speaker of the House, Lee Chatfield, and the minority leader in the House, the Democrat, Christine Gregg, that they would work together with the governor to create a sound, no-fault auto insurance relief policy for our drivers. And so we have an insurance committee. Out of that insurance committee, they created a subcommittee that would work specifically on that. So it was a bipartisan committee, and it was genuinely working on the issue with input from the governor's office. So every day in session, before it starts, the Speaker of the House informs the minority leader of the House what is expected to happen that day, so we can be prepared as to what legislation is going to take place that day. So last Wednesday, it was a regular routine day. In fact, a little less routine because there was the Tulip Festival was taking place in Holland, and the Tulip Parade was taking place that day. And so a number of the Republican legislators were at that event, were not expected to be in session that day. So we were informed it was just going to be a day of taking attendance, but no voting because of the absent members. So when we came into session at 1:30, everything as usual. About an hour and a half, 2 hours later, suddenly the game was afoot. And the Speaker of the House informed the Democrats that there was a new bill introduced regarding auto no-fault reform. They did that by hijacking using a vehicle bill, an existing bill that already had been read into the House, because you can't just create a bill and introduce it on the same day. Not allowed by rules. But they can take an existing bill, hijack it, and rewrite that bill, add language to it, submit it to the House floor for a vote. And that is exactly what happened. So when they introduced their auto no-fault reform bill last week, it was basically written by the insurance companies for the big insurance companies and did not give proper relief to the public. So one of the big issues that we have on auto no-fault is the discriminatory non-driving factors that affects all of our policies. So if you live in a certain zip code, you get penalized on your premiums. It has nothing to do with your driving. If you have bad credit score, you get penalized on your premium. Has nothing to do with your driving. If you are of a certain sex, you get penalized on your premium. If you are a single person, as opposed to a married person, you get penalized on your premium. None of those things were dealt with in the bill. They did talk about sex in there, but it wasn't real clear how much rate relief was going to happen based on sex. But all of those other non-driving discriminatory factors, which are actually outlawed in all the other states, were not in this last bill. All it did do was create something dealing with our catastrophic care. So catastrophic care is one of our largest costs on our premiums. And what they introduced was something that was going to give a tiered catastrophic care. So you could opt out totally of catastrophic care, and you could get a 100%, they were calling it a 100% relief on the catastrophic care portion of your bill. Or you could take $50,000 comprehensive care. You might get 80%. You could take $250,000. You might get 60%, you could take $500,000, you might get roughly 40% relief, or you could go unlimited, so no relief, all right? But the caveat was that was only going to be for 5 years. And after 5 years, all bets were off on any kind of reduction on the catastrophic care. The other issue was that there are thousands upon thousands of people that are already injured from auto accidents who are relying on that catastrophic care fund to continue in perpetuity their needs. That's what it was set up for, and it has assisted thousands and thousands of people with their care that they would not have even gotten that kind of care, even if their their regular health insurance was going to cover anything. Problem is, it wouldn't have sustained that catastrophic care fund under that bill that was passed last week. So what happens is you have all these people relying on this catastrophic care, but it's no different than our pension funds that we've seen depleted because there isn't the dollars, the new dollars going in to sustain it. Same thing would have happened with the catastrophic care fund as well. So as a result, it passed 61-49. All but 3 Democrats voted no on it. And the governor has vowed to veto that legislation. And stay tuned. We'll see what happens. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, Mr. Sarby, you did a good job. I have a whole list of questions, but you make yourself very available to me in the community, and you are out in the community a lot. So I'm going to hold these questions until the next time we meet, maybe socially, maybe at an event. If anyone has a very short answer question, I would be happy to entertain those now.
So just a couple of comments. One, you started with the land acquisition grants, and of course, I think you're being somewhat modest on that because you didn't just vote for that in the House. You're the one who brought it to my attention, and I brought it to the attention of this board, and then you helped shepherd that through the state legislature. So I appreciate that, and we're going to benefit as a community. They're not making more land. Secondly, the Public Act 51, I'm the person that brought this forward. We have a funding formula. It's actually Public Act Public Act 51 of 1951. We have a road funding formula in the state of Michigan that was created prior to there being a Mackinac Bridge.
Okay,
and the population of the county was so much less.
Mr. Gillingham?
But just
This is
bear with
this
me.
is his report,
So
not
just
yours.
just 1 second. There's a couple of other issues here, and that is the linear lane miles, but there's also the issue of putting an emphasis on repairing the existing roads versus building new roads. We have horrible growth policies in the state of Michigan, and as a result, we are in competition for the same money that they're having to turn 2-lane roads into 5-lane roads in the north part
Mr.
of rural
Gillingham,
townships.
he's-
And so
This is his report.
just raising
Please.
that awareness on this, and then there was a discussion on the road issue, but I wanted to save it to the end. And then just one last thing, and that is on the issue of education and higher ed. The governor's proposal on education and college tuition and expanding opportunities for people that are graduating. We have some scholarship recipients. The cost of college is off the charts. And I thought one of the signature issues of the governor's was that helping young people pay for college, especially in those first 2 years, to get them ready so then they can transfer, whether they go to community college, transfer, go. And so I've heard a lot about the gas tax. 45 cents is obviously a starting point. But anything happening on that education and particularly higher education front?
Nothing that I've heard. I know it's still in discussion and appropriations, but nothing more that I've heard on that.
Great, okay, thank you.
Mrs.
Quick
Meltzer?
question, yes, and it has to do with the catastrophic fund as well as road funding. Senator Lucido introduced a bill that would have the interest from the catastrophic fund, which I believe is in the amount of about $24 billion. But the interest of that would be tapped into to help pay for the roads. Has that gotten any legs, and how do you feel about that?
I don't have an opinion either way. I've not heard that. The catastrophic care fund is controlled by the insurance companies, and nobody knows exactly how much is in there. That's what also needs to be done with auto no fault, is make that transparent.
Definitely.
And lastly, this board sent me a resolution last year regarding that Public Act 51 issue. I used that to not only support that bill to change it last year, but also for this year. So again, thank you for sending that. I take all of your resolutions to heart.
I know you do. And
Move
this
them
is
forward.
this is not a public comment, but, session. So this is a report from our state representative who is very available in the community, who does hold office hours, who does hold coffees. So if there's anyone who's here who wishes to speak with him, he's readily available. And anyone who's not here who might be viewing this at home, he is also readily available. So take advantage of that. You'll get an answer. Is it short?
Very short.
Okay.
Bill, thank you.
Hi.
thank you very much for what you're doing in Lansing and supporting us. I mean, after, 20 years on the board here, you knew what we put up with Lansing, and so thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Argona has two short things.
Yes, very short, I promise.
Sure.
Ms. Representative, you said there's a potential $120 million for lead relief throughout the state that's part of the budget. Do you know how much, obviously Flint was a big issue. They had kind of fallen behind in replacing and getting rid of their lead lines. Do you know as a percentage or in any figure, can you give us how many lead lines are still left in the state of Michigan? Is there any estimate?
I don't have that information. I can see if anybody has calculated that. That $120 million
Yeah.
is part of the budget request, so it would go a long ways to help communities replace those lines.
Is that thought that would take care of the problem in Michigan
Well, it's
completely, or-
not just lead lines, it's other pollution issues to
Okay.
assist with. But whether that's going to take care of all the lead lines, I don't know, but I can get back to you on that.
Okay, yeah, I'd appreciate that. And the second really quick question, I see Scott Chabot is here. He's, as you know, one of our consultants and a resident. He helped with the purchase over there in George. He was one of the ones who helped put together the proposal. And I believe you actually got two proposals, if I'm not mistaken, correct, Scott? Yeah, we voted on that a couple weeks ago, and I unfortunately, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't know the exact details. Oh, that was the development, okay. Never mind, I don't have a second question for you, we're all set.
Good,
The
good.
motion would be in order to receive
So
and file.
moved.
Support.
Okay, we are not taking questions from the public. Mr. Sowerby is a very public man and very available. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Argona?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes,
Mrs. Meltzer, yes. Motion passes. Thank you.
thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Good presentation.
Item 2, presentation of senior scholarships 2019.
Hi there. Okay, a little lighter for you guys. Debbie Travis, Program Coordinator for our Senior Center. And I prefer, just if you stood on my side, that would be great. You certainly should not be behind me. Okay, when the Clinton Township Friends of the Senior Center began a scholarship program in 2015, it was established in the spirit of paying it forward and becoming the village that would lend a hand in helping to raise a child to greatness together. Thanks to their generous donations to our college scholarship program in this, our 5th year, we're able to offer 2 1,000 scholarships to 2 very qualified and deserving Clinton Township High School seniors. This intergenerational Seniors Helping Seniors program is another shining example of how the senior citizens in our township make a positive difference. And I'd love to introduce our recipients. Matthew Miller is from Chippewa Valley High School. Matthew is graduating summa cum laude, 10th in his senior class with a GPA of 4.04, which includes an abundance of honors and advanced placement courses. He's a 3-year qualifier for the State Leadership Conference of Business Professionals of America and plans to attend Grand Valley State University, majoring in finance supply chain management. Matthew's extracurricular efforts include a 4-year career on the boys varsity tennis team, of which he captained. He is a member of the National Honor Society, Student Athletic Advisory Committee, 4-year member of the Macomb Athletic Conference All-Academic Team, Key Club volunteer, and a member of the Coalition Teen Council, which promotes healthy living habits among teens. With all of that, it's hard to believe this young man was additionally able to donate over 80 hours of his time in the last 2 years to community service projects, highlighting his exceptional, well-rounded character. Elizabeth Lee also hails from Chippewa Valley High School. She'll be graduating summa cum laude with a 3.99 GPA consisting of highly rigored honors and advanced placement classes, and has also been a member of the school's marching band throughout her academic career. Elizabeth plans to attend Lawrence Tech University, majoring in biomedical engineering for background education, and then eventually going on to become a pediatric anesthesiologist. She's vice president of National Honor Society and has devoted over 80 hours to our community in volunteer service, not including her role as a worship leader for her church. In Elizabeth's words, education is key to success, and I value it very highly. But there are certain things that cannot be taught in the pages of our textbooks: consideration, compassion, and charity. And these most valuable constructs Elizabeth learned through service to others. Matthew and Elizabeth both came very highly recommended by their teachers, administrators, and volunteer supervisors, and after reviewing their applications and essays, we concur. On behalf of the Scholarship Review Board and the Friends of the Clinton Township Senior Center, it is with sincere pleasure that we're able to acknowledge the extraordinary efforts of these two amazing graduates and wish them well in their future endeavors.
Thank you. And I would like to point out, this money came out of the pockets of our seniors who use the center.
Absolutely, yes. Through their generous donations, we were able to amass in excess of the $2,000, so we've got a nice secure base for next year as well. And certainly, it is through the efforts of our seniors and Friends of the Senior Center that produce the availability of these scholarships. If you would be so kind as to allow us a picture, I'd love these two students to come up to behind the board and take a shot.
Up there?
You guys are staying right in front of us.
Well, you're blocking Mr. Pearl. You know, we'll take a second, let's walk around.
Maybe a walk.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Okay, everybody, on 3. 1, 2, 3. And for the parents.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Motion is in order to receive and file,
So moved.
Support.
supported by Mrs. West. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Sorry. Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. And item 3, presentation of the Monarch Way Station designation.
Oh, my God.
Big things going on at the senior center. All good.
Hey.
Okay. Our senior center's Community Garden of Life, which has produced over 1,000 pounds of produce for area food pantries per year since its inception 6 years ago, is now also home to monarch butterflies, thanks to our garden club member, Janet Kaltenbach. Janet took a lead role from the beginning in the growth of our garden and then went on to become an advanced master gardener and then continued her education even further to become a pollinator champion. Most recently, Janet became the architect of our new certified and nationally registered Monarch Way Station. I would like to introduce Janet Kaltenbach to the board.
Good evening, everyone. She's a hard act to follow, I'll tell you that right now. She's very upbeat. Our garden has been growing for 6 years now. We're proud of it. We started out as a very small garden, started adding a little here, a little there, adding a few new members, teaching new members, those that didn't know how to garden. Started out donating to the food kitchens, St. Paul of Tarsus, a few others. This last year, we donated over 3,000 pounds of produce to St. Paul of Tarsus, the Vietnam veterans of Macomb County, and a few other places, which we're very proud of. The one thing we wanted to do was bring in more vegetables. How do you bring in more vegetables? You need those pollinators. Without those pollinators, we wouldn't have vegetables. So I started out with a little strip in front of our garden that was just a few flowers here and there, and I started adding to it. We started getting some of the members involved. We've got pretty much our whole group here now. We're very proud of them. They're very hard workers, believe me. In that hot sun last year, it was tough. We watered by hand most of the time because we don't have water out there. We have a hose that stretches for about a mile, and it's heavy to drag out there when it's 90 degrees, but we did it and really got started. We got the pollinator garden going. As I added more things to it, I had started some milkweed. I threw that out there with a few other things. Next thing you know, we started having monarchs. I was very excited about this because monarchs are down 90%. They are pretty much on the endangered species list. And I thought, if we can bring a few in, maybe we can bring more in. So we started working out there. We were starting to get pollinators. We were getting the bees. We were getting the hummingbirds out there. Pretty much anything that came into the garden was pollinating. Of course, we had pretty good bugs, but you have some that aren't quite so good. You put up with them. Pretty soon it evens out, which is what we wanted. We also had four-legged critters. We had deer. We had a lot of squirrels out there, some rabbits. You deal with them, which we did. But I got a little bit carried away with the pollinator garden. I had a lot of help in the pollinator garden, a lot of help in the main garden. And this last fall, I put in an application for a place called the Monarch Way Station, the Monarch Watch. And it's a hard deal to go through. You have to list all your plants. You have to list all your critters that came in, especially your monarchs. You have to list the caterpillars, what they turned into, how many of them you had, all the different kind of plants you grew, why you did it. And I put it in thinking, it takes 2 to 3 years usually to get listed. Lo and behold, I got a notice. We were accepted in 1 year's time.
Wow. Very
We're now an official Monarch Way Station. We provide milkweeds for them. We provide nectar sources and the shelter they need to survive. We sustain them as they go through their migration and hopefully go to Mexico or whichever place they're going. We are certified, and we hope to enlarge it. We've gotten 4 more raised gardens coming in, just strictly for pollination. Hopefully we'll have more produce coming in this year because of the amount of the pollination we're getting. Hopefully we will help the world just a tiny bit. But we are creating, conserving, and protecting monarch habitats, and I'm proud to say the Senior Center, our garden, the Garden of Life, has done it, and I appreciate all our hardworking members, and I want to thank them. And I want to thank you all, too, for coming out and seeing our garden. We do have a garden walk coming up through the Master Gardener Association. It's June 22nd. It's open to the public. Come out and see us. You'll see the garden. Right now, nothing's planted because it's underwater, but we're getting there. So come out and see us, see what we're about. You'll enjoy it.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you for all the volunteers at our senior center. Debbie, is there anything you'd like to end with? Yes.
And her sign.
With your sign, Gene, you can step on back there.
You know, Janet, just come back behind her.
Yeah.
Hold your sign up. Yeah, we can all stand up.
Gina, what time is your walk on June 22nd?
Fantastic. Okay. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Very nice.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Gina.
Time is up. We're having a morning walk and an afternoon walk.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
As one that tries to encourage butterflies and hummingbirds in my garden as well, I would like to make the motion to receive and file.
Thank you.
Support.
Supported by Mrs. West. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Melter, yes. Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And item 4 is request approval to display banners to promote the Relay for Life.
Dear Clinton Township Board of Trustees, this letter is a formal request to appear in front of the board at the Monday, May 13th meeting to request to display 2 banners in the ground at the corner of 19 Mile and Romeo Plank Road to promote the Relay for Life of Clinton Township, which is May 18th to the 19th, 2019 at Chippewa Valley Ninth Grade Center. If approved, the banner would be placed on the corner the evening of Friday, May 17th, and removed on Sunday, May 19th. The American Cancer Society signature event, Relay for Life of Clinton Township, is an annual event in Clinton Township. Participants will join us from across Metro Detroit, and we again are asking for your help in promoting this event, which is open to the public and free. Relay for Life is held in over 50 communities in the Metro Detroit area this coming season. Ours is a 19 hours community event that celebrates the lives of those who have battled cancer and remembers loved ones lost to the disease. Relay for Life represents the hope that those lost to cancer will never be forgotten, that those who face cancer will be supported, and that one day cancer will be eliminated. Relay for Life isn't just a fundraiser. It provides this community an opportunity to fight back, to make a difference in the battle against cancer through support of increased research, education, advocacy efforts, and patient service programs. We also invite the township to join us that weekend. If you have any questions regarding the 2019 Relay for Life of Clinton Township, please contact April Bush. Thank you for your consideration and have a great day. Regards, April Bush, Community Development Manager, Relay for Life, American Cancer Society.
Of who I'm not, April Bush. Okay. I am Nancy Smith. I live at 40416 Emerald Lane West, and I am here to represent April and all of the Clinton Township Relay for Life. As Mr. Cannon said earlier, it is Saturday, May 18th, starting at 10 a.m. and goes all the way through till 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. So anybody who can't sleep, come join us. We have people walking that track
Yeah.
all night long, and you're welcome to join. These signs go up on the actual corner, not in the roundabout, and it's just a little V. We put them up as we do the rest of the signs, trying to encourage participation from people and information. And this year, there will also be notices on, I believe, on the community channel and also on the billboard on Gratiot at the beginning of Clinton Township to try and also promote this very important event. So if there's any questions?
There is a survivor walk at noon.
There is,
So if you are a cancer survivor or a caretaker,
or a caregiver,
there's going to be a lunch provided by an area business.
multiple businesses this year, yes.
Good.
Yes, so anybody, and even if you're a caregiver who has lost your cancer person, you're welcome to come. If you're a survivor and you can't walk the lap, that's okay too. We'll, still provide the lunch. And the very touching ceremony is also at the Luminaria service that we do at 10 o'clock roughly at night, led by a bagpiper, and it's
I cried. So.
impressive to see how that many people can actually be silent as they walk that entire track, lined by Luminaria bags in honor of those who are fighting and in memory of those that we've lost. So if you're available that evening, it's a really lovely ceremony.
Yes, Mr. Cannon, it is a very moving event, and it means a lot to the people that have lost loved ones and friends to cancer and those that are still trying to beat cancer. There's a number of survivors that do attend that walk, and that's always nice to see. I've been there, I think, every year it's been on in Clinton Township. And it's, we're praying for sunny, warm weather for that
I'll take
event.
dry.
Because it
Not
is
warm, dry.
dry, yes, at least dry,
But it's rain or shine. You
Oh,
don't,
we
you don't
do.
close shop.
yeah.
Wind, doesn't matter.
I'll move that we approve the request for the banners.
I'd like
Support.
to support that because May 18th is the anniversary of my father's passing
is it
with
really?
cancer
Last year.
1 year ago.
It's been moved by Mr. Pearl, supported by Mr. Gilliam. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Request approval to host the annual tent sale, Dorian Ford.
Dear Ms. Meltzer, our dealership would like to hold our annual tent sale on May 25th, 2019 until July 5th, 2019. We would plan one placing tent 20 foot by 40 foot on our lot property in front of our building. Could you please have our request reviewed and approved by the Charter Township of Clinton Board of Trustees at the next available meeting? Sincerely, Carolyn Dorian, Vice President.
We've never had any issues or problems with any of our departments with this site.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Supported by Mrs. West.
Can I just mention that I got notified by, I think it was both on Facebook, and I got a letter because I bought vehicles from them before, that they're having a test drive, a Ford fundraiser. The money for those people that go to Dorian Ford for a test drive of a Ford vehicle, $20 will go to our police K-9 unit. That's for 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., May 23rd. That's a Thursday. So that's a nice event that they're doing.
10 a.m. to 8 p.m., you said?
10 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Thank you.
They've raised a lot of money for community groups.
They're great community people anyway. Yes, sir.
Yes, Sam Bushel, 18546 Wayland Drive. When all of these tent sales and such come up, you say that all the different departments have had no trouble. Per all the emails today from the building official, do they check that all site plan requirements have been met? And this is a gorgeous car dealership, have no problem with the dealership per se. I'm asking, do they check site plan provisions, because the building inspector says they don't?
They check to make sure the tent's in the proper place so it's not a harm to anyone.
So in other words, they don't check the rest of the lot for any violations?
The rest of the lot? No.
The rest of the property, that gets the tent, but it's...
They check the tent. If there's any concern on the part of anyone for any tent that goes up anywhere in the community, any department that has a concern, we address it.
Yes, but they don't check out site plans,
No.
and the board is okay with that?
Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, was there a motion? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. Item 6 is Harbor Freight parking lot sale.
Harbor Freight would like board approval to hold their parking lot sales in a 20 by 20 foot tent on June 7th to the 9th, August 16th to the 18th, and October 11th to the 13th. Also November 29th to December 1st, where no sales will occur in the tent. And this is submitted by Michael Szymanski, store manager.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
Anybody here from Harbor Freight?
I don't believe so.
They never do it.
No, the first couple of years, they
No, I
came
know.
years ago.
I know. They used to come, though, so before we launched into public comment, I figured we ought to hear from them if they were here.
Yes, sir.
Once again, I'm just curious, no department has any problem with the upkeep of the parking lot or anything else there? And I shop there regularly, but I know that the parking lot is destroyed, and I'm wondering about, if there are any screen dumpsters or any site plan requirements since it, went before it was,
Before the tent goes up?
yes, yeah?
No,
Yeah,
there's not.
okay, so the board does not care if site plan matches. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Keys?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and through the chair to the planning director. Just a quick question. What's going on in that parking lot? Right now, I'm getting calls constantly about huge semi-trucks unloading and loading out of that building. There's been a lot of rumors about what's going on in that
I'll be
parking lot.
glad to tell you what's
Appreciate
going on.
it.
There was a court, we've been trying to get the company that moved in the middle of the night out of the Kmart. And we had a court case the other day, and they were ordered by the judge to be out within 30 days. Their sentencing date was 30 days from that court date, which was last Monday. So and they are also in court again this week. They are being evicted by the landlord. So they should be gone. We think that those trucks are there now unloading all the merchandise they brought in, when in fact they had told us they weren't going to do that.
Okay.
So there should be an empty building there soon.
Okay.
And on top of that, I believe we asked them to vacate, and I think they actually expanded at that point.
They did.
From the answers I got, because I got some of the same questions. So
Right.
it was kind of an almost in-your-face situation where you can't do this, And then I went, well, guess what? And then they brought in more stuff.
Right.
So-
But it sounds like from the township's perspective, we're doing everything
We
we
won the
can, and we
case.
were on top of it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So for the people who don't, so it was a Kmart, it was zoned for commercial purposes. This operation moved in as a warehouse. It's not
Right.
properly zoned for a warehouse operation, but I think they were just riding it out as long as they possibly could. It forced us to take them to court. We did so, we prevailed, so.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a support. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl.
Yes.
Mr. Argona.
Yes.
Mrs. West.
Yes.
Mr. Keys.
Yes.
Mr. Cannon.
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam.
Yes.
Mrs. Melter, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. Item 7, request approval for EJ's Auto Service Third Annual Classic Car Show.
Dear trustees, my name is Elmer Zutkowski, and I'm a business owner in Clinton Township. I'm the owner of an automotive repair shop, EJ's Auto Service, which is located at 44880 Heidenreich Road, Clinton Township, 48038. I am contacting you as I'm interested in having a car show to help draw more business, not only to my automotive repair shop, but to the other business in Point Plaza. I have already been in contact with the owner of the plaza, who has given me the go-ahead and offered his support of this endeavor. Additionally, I have been contacted with the other businesses located in the plaza, and they have offered their support and are eager to have such an event take place. All parties are extremely excited about the prospect of an event to bring our community together. The car show will be free of charge. Oops, I'm losing some of this here. Will be free of charge and is a family-appropriate event. Additionally, we will be offering small prizes to attendees throughout the event. These prizes have been donated by businesses who have chosen to support this event. I have also been in communication with former Red Wings Darren McCarty, who has expressed an interest in participating in this event. He will be present signing autographs. The event is tentatively scheduled to take place on Saturday, June 15th, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Attached to this letter, you will find a flyer with information about the car show, as well as a map highlighting where parking will be available for the event, which has already been discussed with the other businesses in the plaza. At all entrances to the plaza, there will be someone directing cars as to where they should park for the event. I remain at your disposal should you have any questions or require any additional information from me. I look forward to working together not only with this event, but in the future as well. Thank you for your support and guidance. Respectfully, Elmer Zutkowski. Sorry.
Sir, the petitioner's behind you, if you don't mind. Questions of the board?
Thank you, Mr. Cannon, and thank you for being here again. You come each year, and I always appreciate that. And it seems like this event is growing each year. You keep getting better and better.
Every year, it's going to keep getting better.
Awesome. The same question that I asked you the last 2 years was just about music. Do you have any plans this year to do music?
Nope.
Okay, awesome. Well, I wasn't able to make it last year. I went the first year, and I'll plan on joining you again this year.
Get you an autograph for that.
Hope you have a successful event.
Thank you.
Further questions?
A motion to
Mr. Argona?
approve?
Yeah, just real quick, just to support EJ, I've been both years to this event. It's been great. And I just want to thank you because, in my opinion, EJ's the type of small business owner we want in the community. He always does things by the book, which I really appreciate. He's always making sure that everything's squared away. And if you can make it out, it is a really fun event. You always invite a lot of different types of car guys. And they're willing to sit there, answer questions about the cars, and show off what they got in the garage. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gilliam made a motion,
I'll support it.
supported by Mr. Argona. Sir, you may speak now.
There again, this is just part of the, knowing that homes are getting cited right and left. I have nothing against this, the car show, other than I believe that inasmuch as site plans are put for the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens, that before extra items are put into a shopping center or anyplace else, the building department should be out there checking if there are unscreened dumpsters at this place. Anybody know? Obviously not. It's a matter of, you really should make it to where this board should vote to have that before you are approving these things, that the building official or whomever he would designate would go out and check the latest site plan and see if the items are actually there before you add an extended use to a property. Thank you.
Thank you. Item, we have a motion on the floor?
Yes, we do. Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. Argona?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mrs. Melter, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. And item 8, public hearing for proposed 2019 Charter Township of Clinton Downtown Development Authority.
Dear board members, on behalf of the Downtown Development Authority of Clinton Township, the Department of Planning and Community Development Department hereby submits to you the revised TIF plan for the DDA. The DDA board voted unanimously to approve the TIF plan at its April 10, 2019 meeting after several reviews at previous board meetings over the last 5 months. The DDA board is requesting that you hold the required public hearing for taxing jurisdictions review and comment on May 13, 2019. The notices required by the act were accomplished, and the TIF plan is ready for your approval. Once approved, the TIF plan will be forwarded to the state of Michigan as required. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact my office at your convenience. Sincerely, Bruce Thompson, Department of Planning and Community Development Director.
This is a public hearing. If anyone is here to make any comments,
Mr. Cannon,
Mr. Dolan?
just so the record's clear, and as is noticed in our agenda, the hearing is both on the TIF plan, which is an acronym that stands for Tax Increment Financing, and also on the DDA plan. Both documents have been available for public inspection and were presented to each of the board members. And tonight, we're here to provide for a robust public hearing and gather whatever input we may receive from the public.
Thank you. We do have a member of the public at the podium.
Yes, how many years has it been that the Downtown Development Authority actually was actually void because it hadn't been, it ran out of its charter?
It's less
May I
than,
correct that, please, Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
The DDA has never been void.
It's never been void, but it ran out of its charter, correct?
No.
Never did.
No, what happened is the tax increment financing plan that previously was adopted by the DDA expired.
Okay, and how many years ago did that expire?
That, I believe, was in 2017.
May of
2000.
17.
May of 2017, correct?
Okay. And so because a TIF actually collects the taxes from the base year, anything incremental that went ahead, has all of the monies collected since 2000, since the TIF expired, the taxes that were caught up in that should have went to the Downtown Development Authority, it should have obviously been sent back to the general fund of the township?
I can speak to that, So because the taxes, the TIF plan expired May of 17, we had collected from the various taxing authorities for the 17 and the 18 year. The 18 year was immediately refunded, and then we had discussions with the State Department of Treasury, who concluded that all of those funds needed to be refunded back to the taxing authority. So they don't go into the township's general fund. When you do a tax capture on a TIF, what it does is it takes anything from the base year, anything that's a gain from the base year was captured for the DDA and put in the DDA fund. That money was then taken out of the DDA fund, given back to the various taxing authorities.
Taxing authorities. And that's just for 18, not for the 17?
For both years.
For both years?
For both years. Treasury eventually concluded that, yes, the 17 needed to be
Needed to go back.
refunded as well.
Okay, very good.
thank you. Yes, sir.
Roger Holzheimer, 23140 Wellington Crescent. I'm glad to see this getting back to where it's supposed to be. I did have a couple of ideas on ways to improve it. I think there should be a report, at least yearly, back to the board about what's actually getting done there. So that every year they come back and go, these are the businesses that moved in, this is our vacancy rate amongst the businesses that are there, so that the board and the public can see how it's proceeding. Is it working? Is it not working? Do we need to tweak something? I also think that the original plan that we spent a lot of taxpayer dollars on should be found so that we have it as a resource. It was quite expensive. I've asked about it several times, and nobody knows what happened to the original plan, which cost well over $125,000 before we were ever able to do anything. Now, if it can be found and used, I think that'd be great. I remember that plan well. I sat through it twice, its presentation. Not very much of it has been used.
Mr. Thompson?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to finish, then I can address the things you have.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I'll address that issue, Mr.
And the meeting place and time of the DDA meetings. I don't think I'll be going to any of the DDA meetings, but I do believe that they should be at least on the website so people can find out when they are, where they are. And I can't find it on there, maybe it is, and I just don't know where it's at.
It's not.
Okay?
You're the new planning guy.
Yes. So first and foremost, the first question, you actually bring up a very good point in having progress reports. In fact, I think the state agrees with you, and as of, I think it was January 1st this year, all DDAs are required to send yearly reports to the state treasurer's office. Certainly, copies of those are to be given to the township board. We also are required to place a certain amount of that information on the website. So there used to be a DDA website some time ago. I think it was like in 2011. And it's a GoDaddy account. If you've ever been through that, to try and get it open again, it's a nightmare. So what we've done is actually the DDA reporting stuff is on the planning webpage of the township's website. So all of the reporting information, the minutes, all those things are available there. And if you have any questions about that, you can contact me anytime. We'll make sure we get that information for you. The State Act now also requires that the DDA hold 2 informational meetings a year. We notify the taxing jurisdictions, we put out notice, and that is a meeting twice a year that anybody can come, whether it's trustees, planning commissioners, the public, and get basically a semi-annual report on what is the DDA doing, where are they at. And all of this includes budget information and their development plan and their TIF plan and the things that they've been doing. So that act has really allowed us to kind of engage the public more, and so you're going to see a lot more of that coming up. The plan you referred to has never been lost. If you want, again, contact me. I do have all the documents. I mean, I've only been here 7 months, but the plans that were, a consultant was hired to put together a comprehensive plan, that's all in my office. I do have it available.
Okay.
So I'd be more than happy to share that with you, with anybody. Spend as much time as you want.
As long as you have it, because the previous planning director told me on multiple occasions that he did not have access to it.
The last item you had, and it's date and time and location, that will also always be on the planning page. The DDA page of the planning page of the website. They meet the second Wednesday of every month at Baker College at the Little Mac address. That's at 7:30 a.m. And the public is absolutely always welcome to those meetings.
Okay. It sounds like everything is going back. When the DDA got started, it really went great guns the first few years. And then, the economy collapsed. That kind of did some damage there, and I think people took their eye off the ball. But the south end of the township needs a lot of help.
The DDA has done a very good job. They've got a lot of very loyal people that volunteer on that board. Most notable are the LED lighting district that was put in, as well as the additional landscaping that was put up along Gratiot Avenue.
2003 plan.
And I know that Mr. Thompson has some additional ideas once things get fully underway again, which I'm very excited about.
I don't see the DDA under here.
Okay,
Section 4.
close the public hearing.
So moved.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Further comments? This is to close it for the DDA and the TIF plan.
I don't.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Burrow?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mr. Gallahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Melzer, yes, motion passes.
On this page.
Item 9 is introduction of ordinances 456 through, the 2019 Charter Township of Clinton Downtown Development Authority Plan and Tax Increment Financing. This is simply to receive and file if the board so approves.
Well, this is introduction. This is an introduction.
Oh, it's an intro, okay. We will be receiving and filing at the next meeting.
Mr. Cannon, may I speak just very
Yes.
briefly to this? This is part of the process that we're going through now with respect to the adoption of the tax increment financing and the DDA development plan. And the requirements of the act are that occur through the process of an ordinance. So this ordinance, Chapter 275, the Downtown Development Authority 2019 Downtown Development Tax Increment Financing Plan ordinance is being adopted. Essentially, the board, through adopting this ordinance, is determining that a public purpose under the act is met and is finding that the plan is approved and is also making the findings as are set forth in section 275.05 of the ordinance. Essentially, all of the necessary prerequisites, including reviews by our planner with respect to the master plan, by all of our public services have been made. The findings with regard to changes in zoning, which really aren't occurring, or streets and street levels and intersections, that's all there. And the finding by the board is being made that it meets the requirements of the plan and that the tax increment financing plan is feasible and that the financing necessary for the plan, which is the capture, is able to be accomplished. So that's all in the ordinance. As you correctly noted, at this time we are introducing it, and at the next meeting it will be presented for adoption.
Thank you. Comments or questions?
I'll move to adopt,
To introduce.
no, excuse me, to introduce to be adopted at the next Clinton Township Board meeting.
Is there a second?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Aragona. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Melser, yes, motion passes.
Item 10, request approval to attend International Hazardous Material Conference.
This is submitted by Terry Holstein with the fire department in the amount of $1,230.
And this is something that is,
And the location is out of state, also Baltimore, Maryland.
it's out of state. All expenses will be reimbursed to the township.
So moved.
Is there a
Was
second?
it state bid? No.
Support.
He will be part of our hazmat team. Correct, Chief? Yes. So this is extremely important that he attend this. Thank you for your motion and support. Roll call, please.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mrs. Melser, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. And item 11, request approval to purchase 2 trucks for the Water and Sewer Department.
Dear members of the board, attached you will find quotes for 2 replacement vehicles for the water department maintenance crews. We have contacted the vendor, and they have agreed to honor the prices offered through the Michigan Intergovernmental Trade Network, which is called Mitten, as solicited by
It
Macomb
was
County for
pre-bid.
2 2019 Ford F-150 trucks. In accordance with the township purchasing and bid policies, we recommend awarding the vehicle purchases to Signature Ford for $60,982 for 2 2019 Ford F-150 trucks. These are budgeted purchases. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. Sincerely, Charles Belmore,
why they
Assistant to the Superintendent of Water and Sewer.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions of board members? Yes.
Just to the chair, looking at this, should I, when we look at these types of projects, are we assuming this is what we consider competitively bid? My question arises just because if we're going to the same vendor and saying that someone else bid this amount, if you match it, we'll continue to work with you. Is that really a competitive bid? And maybe I'm misunderstanding the process. It sounds like in the letter that we took another bid, we said, oh, that's the low number, and then went to our current vendor and said, just match that bid. And then we,
No, it's through Mitten, through the Michigan Intergovernmental Trade Network. It's a bid network.
Right.
So that's where,
but the letter doesn't say we went through Mitten. It says they agreed to honor the prices offered through Mitten.
yeah.
So
I-
I kind of dealt with this at the county as well. So the Department of Management and Budget just basically flushes this out. There's no reason why we should be going through a dealership in Owasso, Michigan, when we have great Ford dealers right all around us, right? But Signature Ford in Owasso is the dealer that deals mostly with the state of Michigan, and they deal with the fleet vehicles for pretty much the state of Michigan and all local governments. So they're kind of the designated fleet vehicle.
Okay.
And then, so we're saying this is the price that's met with the Mitten, the Department of Management and Budget of the state. And so they've agreed to that pricing, and they're vetted by the Department of Management and Budget to make sure that they're providing us the best prices, and they're checked regularly by DMB. So.
And that does make sense. So that gives us the flexibility, like you're saying, if, instead of using this out of the county vendor, we can use someone more local, but still honor that competitive price.
Yep.
But no other.
Oh, because I used to question the same thing. Why are we going through a dealership in Owasso? We got tons of Ford
Right.
dealers in Macomb, but, it's, yeah.
But I just want to make sure I'm clear. It's not that any other local dealership had an opportunity to bid on this or to take part in this. This was just us going to one vendor.
They can. Yeah, they could.
They would have done, if they wanted to, they'd bid it from the state level.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
You all set?
Yeah.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
No.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
Thank you. Roll call?
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Melter, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. And item 12 is a budget amendment for concrete work at Fire Station Number 3.
Dear members of the board, I am writing to request a budget amendment of $90,000 to be taken from the fire fund in order to proceed with the concrete replacement project at Station 3, Clinton River in Garfield. The project was originally budgeted for $150,000, as the original scope of the project was to replace the rear lot only. New to the project estimate this year was the involvement of Scott Chabot of Anderson, Eckstein, and Westrick Incorporated, along with Mike Summers. They were invaluable as to guiding the preliminary estimate for this project due to needed stormwater improvements. Due to needed stormwater improvements, as well as soil investigations and other aspects of the project, it has been recommended by Scott Chabot that the project be considered for a full replacement of both the front and rear parking areas this budget year. It is estimated that holding off on the front parking area until next year could result in a 10 to 15% increase in cost for that portion. At present, the rear portion of the parking area is deteriorating quickly, and one portion is damaged to the extent that washout of the material underneath has become a concern. Thank you for your consideration of this matter. Should you have any questions or concerns, feel free to contact me at any time. Sincerely, Tim Duncan, Clinton Township Fire Chief.
Chief, I know this is a budgeted item. That is not a budgeted item, but do you have money that you can move around in your budget to accomplish this goal?
Yes, we should be able to. So we originally had just the rear budget for $150,000, which, when you look at the estimate, we were pretty close to being right on that. Problem we're running into, and thankfully for Scott's company, there's going to be a lot of involvement with the DEQ. We found out that most of this property's in a floodplain, so there is going to be an extensive project that they're going to handle 90+% for us. Also, if we were to wait till next year for the front part, we find that if the amounts are, it's a smaller project, we have difficulty getting vendors or people bidding on the project. So it was advised by both Scott and Mary, I talked to Mary Bednar, to go ahead and proceed with this project to get it fully done this year.
And a lot
After
of
this
pictures were provided, so you could see how bad the deterioration is.
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yeah, just a quick question. I assume that they're going to work construction-wise so you can keep open?
That's correct, yes. We would do one portion at the, hopefully soon, we'll get underway, and then the second portion after the time period where we have to stay off of that cement in the back in the rear area. They'll be coming through the front to start with, and then the back once that's done.
Yeah, with the weight of those trucks and the way this cement looks, concrete looks, it's got to be done.
Fortunately, this, once we're done with this project, that'll only be one station that has to be remediated next year, and then we should be good for a couple of decades moving forward with the fire department.
Good. Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Move to approve the request.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Melter, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. Now, the next four items are basically clerical in nature. It regards ordinances 452 and 453, which we discussed 2 weeks ago and approved. However, the summary that Mr. Dolan prepared for the publication was not put in the paper, and it has to happen before final adoption. So he instructed Mrs. Meltzer that she needed to put these two items back on the agenda and then re-vote on them so that the timing is proper. So the first item is item 13, request to rescind adoption of ordinance 452. Again, the reason being it wasn't published.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Argona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Melter, yes, motion passes.
And 14 is to put it back in the forefront so that we can
adopt.
put the publication in the paper.
To adopt.
To adopt.
To adopt.
Adopt.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Melter, yes. Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Argona?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 15 is to rescind adoption of ordinance 453.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Melter, yes. Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Argona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And item 16 is to adopt ordinance 453.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Support.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, on these marijuana laws, I'm a little concerned. I was in, there again, I was in picking up site plans at the Planning Commission. And while I was there was a couple conversations. One was between the planner, Mrs. Melter on the phone. Another one was with a woman that was at the counter. And it was stated that the Planning Commission was going to take it off their agenda that night because it was already agreed. Everybody knew, okay, and that's before the meeting started, which is kind of strange. And also the fact that when they adopted it, it was going to be the same 3 locations plus.
Mr. Cannon, I don't mean to interrupt, but if I may, with your permission as
Yes.
chair, and sir, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
But you are.
I understand that, but I want to make sure we're clear on this. The ordinance that we're speaking about tonight is does not have anything at all to do with the zoning of medical or recreational marijuana or the identification of sites where that could be permitted to be sold. What this ordinance is this ordinance tracks the state law that has created circumstances where marijuana can be used, how much of it can be used, and penalties for failing to comply under that act. It's a whole different kettle of fish. The question of whether you will permit by zoning the growing of marijuana, the selling of marijuana. That's another issue for another time.
Well-
This ordinance tonight does not deal with that whatsoever.
Where my problem comes in is there was obviously some round robining, checking as to whether a particular,
That's not on the agenda for this evening, though.
well, and where the problem is, a lot of stuff is being done on this behind the scenes
No.
that people didn't even know about.
Okay.
So, okay, you're not going to let me speak on it. Very good.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I mean,
Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl?
yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Argona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Melter, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. And item 17 is approval of engagement with Plant Moran Financial Advisors.
Dear members of the board, the Deferred Compensation Plan Committee is requesting board authorization to engage Plant Moran Financial Advisors, PMFA, to serve as the township's financial advisors for all defined contribution and deferred compensation plans. At present, the township sponsors 2 401A plans with 3 457B plans with combined assets of approximately $40 million held by 344 participants. The purpose of the ongoing engagement is to assist the township in fulfilling its fiduciary responsibilities to the plan participants of the 5 plans. The scope of that assistance will consist of the development of comprehensive investment policy statements, optimizing the list of investment options, monitoring the performance of service providers, and benchmarking fees for reasonableness, evaluate the performance of investment options, and assist with developing an education communications strategy for participants. The fee for the services outlined will be $45,000 annually through January 1st, 2021, with 2% annual increase thereafter. The annual service fee should be paid directly by the township and requires a budget amendment of $40,000 for fiscal year 2020. The engagement may be terminated at any time by either party. Should you have any questions or concerns regarding this matter, please do not hesitate to contact us, Donna Loretti, our Finance Director, Mary Hine, the Assistant Finance Director, and William Smith, Human Resources Director.
Thank you. Mr. Smith is here this evening if anyone has any questions. If not, the floor is open for a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mrs. Melter, yes. Motion passes.
Do we need to do the budget amendment now?
No. No, we could do that all at one time.
The MTA is indicating that the state's requiring us to do budget amendments on time, not at the end.
They are?
Yeah, I read that in one of the letters. So if we could just do the budget amendment now.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Well, hang on one second.
For the budget
because-
amendment.
Yeah, I understand that part, but I want to make
Well,
sure.
okay, but what are we amending and by
Yeah.
how much and?
Well, it's not an amendment. It's not an amendment. This is a separate motion you made. You guys made a separate motion to,
It requires a budget amendment of 40,000 for 2020.
yeah, that part. But I'm saying this is a separate motion to,
Yes.
okay.
Okay. So amending the budget for the purposes of hiring Plant Moran is what you're suggesting?
That's correct.
So amending the budget by $40,000? Okay.
I have not seen that come through with the MTA yet, but I believe what you're telling me.
Because they had a question about whether we could wait till the end of the year, and their suggestion, the states now changed it and requiring it to be done timely.
Okay.
When you know about it.
So,
Did you get that at a conference, or where'd you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
so the first motion was what?
You guys went to different sessions?
You're supposed to divide and conquer, that's true. Yeah.
Which is what we did.
All right.
First motion was what? Carol, do you have that language or no?
Motion by Pearl, supported by Gilliam, to approve the engagement of Plant Moran for a fee of 45, not to exceed 45,000.
And we voted on that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
been voted on.
Okay.
That was voted on.
It was, yes. No, I just want to make sure that, and so we needed a budget amendment for that. Okay, very good.
40,000.
Yep.
Yeah. Motion by Keith,
Did we-
supported by
did we
Pearl,
vote on it?
clarified, and seconded by Paul.
Okay.
Roll call.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Yeah, you. Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Melter, yes. Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 18, approval to hire 2 police officers.
Dear board members, I'm requesting board approval to hire 2 police officers to fill the current openings. They are Michael Dizerzik and Ryan Pasovitz. The swearing in is scheduled for Monday, May 20th at 1 p.m. at our police department. These 2 positions are in the current budget. Sincerely, Fred Pasovitz, Chief of Police.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes. Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And item 19, approval of appointment to appraisal technician position.
Dear members of the board, the assessing department is recommending the appointment of Mr. Jared Welsh to the position of appraisal technician. Mr. Welsh successfully completed all civil service testing and was selected by the department after candidate interviews. As a condition of employment, he is required to successfully complete a background investigation and a pre-employment medical examination, including drug tests. Excuse me, this is the budgeted position. Mr. Welsh's starting salary will be $45,037 as specified in the UAW Unit 52 Collective Bargaining Agreement. Upon Township Board approval, his appointment date will be effective May 14, 2019. Thank you for your consideration of this matter. Sincerely, William Smith, Human Resources Director.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes. Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And item 20, quarterly treasurer's report.
Mr. Gilliam, would you like to take that away?
Yeah,
Thank you.
so I can kind of like paraphrase and, possibly streamline some of this. So the state of Michigan created Public Act 20 to ensure that local communities are investing their treasury funds wisely. Basically, we can only invest the township's dollars in the highly rated, low-risk investment-grade vehicles. Our township investment policy prioritizes safety first, then liquidity, making sure the money's there when we need it, and then yield. So it's within those parameters that I can report to you that we've taken, I think, all of the necessary steps that we can take to capitalize on a rising interest rate environment that has occurred and really coincided with my taking the job as treasurer. So the cumulative interest income returns in fiscal year 2016-17 is $244,000 roughly. In 2017-18 fiscal year, we were able to increase that to $629,000. And then in 18-19, close out the end of the fiscal year, $1.35 million in interest income brought into the township with a focused investment strategy that relies on, one, understanding our cash flows, two, looking for as many investment vehicles as we can to get the best returns, CDs, U.S. Treasuries, commercial paper, pool funds, municipal agency bonds, and establishing interest-bearing accounts within our bank accounts that hold our deposits. So in the last treasurer's report for the third quarter, one of the things that we suggested is that we are keeping everything short, that there was not good returns on taking stuff out longer. That was our foundation early on and allowed us to generate returns. We're modifying that strategy now. And the way that we're looking to do that is to, one, keep the CDs, keep the commercial paper investments, keep the pool funds as liquid and as short as we possibly can. But we would like to change the investment policy of the township. Right now, we're limited to 3 years. I would like to take it out to 5 years, and I'll be bringing those recommendations forward to the board. The idea here is to have a short and a long strategy for investments. That way, you're hedging yourself with these safe vehicles, but you're locking in interest rates that then allow you to hedge against future market downturns. Basically, what we've seen here is we saw the crash in December. The crash occurred because growth was slowing down globally. The Fed refused to recognize that because the Fed is trying to raise rates to end quantitative easing, to then bring them up so that if we do have another economic collapse, they can then lower rates and then put more money into the markets. The Fed was adhering to that strategy. They have now pulled back from that strategy because they're seeing growth slowing down even further. And so with that, we exceeded our benchmark. The benchmark is the 3-month Treasury. January from last year to this year, average 2.39. Our investments in all of our depository accounts, or rather all of our investments excluding our depository accounts where earning credits offset the banking fees, is 2.55%. And then just a word on tax. And I think this is a really sort of interesting snapshot into the economy. Knowing what's happening with tax collections and delinquency rates always tells you a little bit about, everyone's saying the economy's on fire, but here in Macomb County, we've seen wages stagnate, we've seen job growth lag, and the divide between those that are doing really, really well and a lot of folks that are still struggling in this economic market is very, very real and very, very pronounced here. And so delinquency is up 7% over last year as to what, how many tax bills did not get paid to the township and actually wound up going to the county. So I want to report on that. And then the last thing that I'll report on is that 2 weeks ago, I completed the Michigan Municipal Treasurers Association training. It was a 3-year training, week-long program each time. And as a result, I'll have met the requirements to be a certified public treasurer in the state of Michigan.
Hey,
So
congratulations.
I appreciate that. And then I'll turn it over to folks if they have any questions.
Floor is open to receive and file.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Key, supported by Mr. Pearl.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes, motion passes.
Thank you. Item 21 has been deleted. Item 22, request for a veterans parking sign in the Civic Center parking lot.
This is a request, I didn't get a cover letter on this at all.
I can summarize it.
Huh?
I can summarize the request.
Okay, Mr. Keys, yes, you were the one that requested to place it on the agenda.
I included the minutes from the committee meeting and felt that I could give a summary here today.
These were the draft minutes, these were not, so the,
Yeah, I don't know, they don't post the meetings or the meeting dates for that committee, so I wouldn't know when they're going to be approved next. But I'd be happy to summarize it.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Early last year, I reached out to our Public Services Director about the possibility of designating a veterans-only parking spot here at the Township Civic Center. I was informed that my request needed to go to the Building Committee. That's an internal committee here at the Township. In September of 2018, I sent an email officially requesting that the item be placed on the upcoming agenda. Having not received any updates after 6 months, I reached out again. Shortly after, I received the minutes from the February 6th Building Committee, which informed me that my request had been denied and would go no further. It is my belief that requests made by equally elected board members should be approved or denied in a public meeting. After waiting some time for this item to be placed on a public board agenda, I am now requesting it come to consideration myself. I strongly feel that we should honor and provide this small convenience for those who have served our country. I am requesting that the board direct the Public Services Director to identify a space in the front row of the parking lot near the Civic Center entrance and install a veterans-only parking sign. In doing some research, this type of signage that would be necessary will cost between $30 and $50, including shipping. I've secured quotes from Sigco Sign, MyParkingSign.com, and DoorBows.SignAndSafety.com. I'd appreciate the board's consideration. Thank you.
Are there any comments?
just, that wasn't submitted in your request for us to look at as well. That wasn't put in there. Why not? Why didn't you submit
If you're
that?
talking about the initial request, I was not informed of the February 6th meeting.
I'm
and so
talking about this board packet. Why didn't you submit those quotes, I guess? Why didn't you submit that as well?
Oh, I only got them to give me an idea of what type of cost we'd be dealing with, and once I realized it was a $30 to $50 cost, I felt I'd be able to summarize it here at the board meeting.
Well, for purposes of how we normally process, I would, recommend that you put it in, even if it's a short, brief, even an email, and that way we can, add it here, if you want.
Yeah, I can look at that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
As an honorably discharged veteran, Vietnam-era veteran, I think this is a great idea. One thing that bothers me is Mr. Keys actually tried to put this on the agenda 6 months ago, and it never got put on. How do if any board member can put an item on the agenda, correct?
That's correct. We have a committee that was evaluating his request for the sign.
And they denied it, but not in public, and that's kind of wild to me. That what do they have? What is this committee? I don't know who are they, and what do they have against us veterans?
Well, let me tell you, we have nothing against the veterans. In fact, this community does more for veterans than any community in Macomb County, and I'll stake my reputation on that. In fact, let me just tell you what we've done since this board was elected. We have 15 events, public events, that were scheduled as part of honoring veterans, along with Resurrection Cemetery as a partner, as well as VVA 154. I don't know if you know that is a group here in Clinton Township.
What we're really talking about, though, is this sign and why an elected board member could not get an item on this agenda.
We're talking about honoring veterans. 11/11/2016, Veterans Day. We had 4 members of the board attend. We had a Christmas dinner for the veterans on 12/3. 3 members of this board attended. On 12/17/2016, we had Wreaths Across America. 2 members of this board attended. On 5/29/17, Memorial Day, we had 4 members of this board attend. On 9/11/2017, Patriot Day, where we also honor veterans, we had 4 members of this board attend. On 9/15/2017, VVA 154 POW MIA Vigil, 1 member of this board attended. 11/11/2017, Veterans Day, 4 members of this board attended. 12/2/2017, VVA 154 Christmas Dinner, 3 members of this board attended. 12/16/2017, Wreaths Across America, 2 members of this board attended. 5/28/18, Memorial Day, 3 members of this board attended. 9/11/2018, Patriot Day, 5 members of this board attended. 9/21/2018, VVA 154 POW MIA Vigil, 1 member of this board attended. 11/10/2018, Veterans Day, 5 members of this board attended. 12/1/2018, VVA, again, Christmas dinner, 3 members of this board attended. 12/15/2018, Wreaths Across America, 2 members of this board attended. Coming up next week, a week from today, we will again honor our veterans, and I will be there. Of all these events, I was at every single one. Mr. Keys was at none. We have had the Wall That Heals, the traveling wall that heals, half-size Vietnam Wall, here in Clinton Township twice, 2010, 2015. We have it scheduled again for 2020. No other community in this area has had it more than once ever. We had the Michigan Wall that heals in our Civic Center. In fact, it went to the library the following year, and then the following year, they didn't bring it back to the Civic Center as they were invited, and it was stolen last year. They did recover the wall, but not the vehicle. We don't.
Right near my house.
We do everything we can, every possible time to honor our veterans. We don't need to put up one sign. By the way, before this meeting, I went down to VVA 154 and talked to the veterans. They didn't want it. They serve. They don't want to be served. They didn't want to be singled out. They said, please don't put that sign up. They didn't want to come tonight because they don't want to be political, and they're not. They take care of not only the Vietnam veterans fabulously, but they take care of all veterans returning home. That is their mission. You heard tonight, the folks in the Garden Club donate food to that group so they can get it to the veterans who need help. So that's what we do. So I'm telling you that we honor veterans, and I don't need to put up a sign in the parking lot to take away from somebody else who might need it for this soccer game and not use it. In fact, I had a young lady call me the other day when she heard about this, and she was disgusted because she had parked in a veterans parking spot. Every spot in the lot was taken. It was raining. There wasn't a spot available. And by the way, she's a veteran. When she came back, there was a nasty note on her window. Why are you taking a veterans parking spot? Who's going to patrol that veterans parking spot? Who's going to say you can park there, you can't park there? And by the way, on that same agenda, we had several other groups that wanted to put up signs. Pregnant women wanted to put up signs. I mean, somebody suggested that we do that. And there was another one that said, please park in the back of the parking lot, put these signs all over the place so you can get some exercise. So we denied all 3 sets of those signs. So that's what we do. That's what we do as a community. That's what I do as a supervisor of this community.
Well, I truly hope that there'll be 7 yes votes for this $50 sign for veterans. Thank you.
I hope that there isn't, because we need the park. We don't need any spots in the front because we have plenty of open parking every single day. We make sure our employees don't park there. Mr. Keys?
Thank you, Mr. Cannon. I think what we've learned here as a board is when I come up with a request, Mr. Cannon will do whatever it takes to make it personal. That's what I've learned. When I put in this request, it was in no way a signal or a sign that I did not respect or appreciate what had been done before me. This was an opportunity to make an additional contribution. And Mr. Cannon, again, I'm disgusted at the fact that you sat here and read a schedule of events. I've been to a number of them at Resurrection Cemetery, but again, that is not the point.
You have not been to any of these that I just mentioned.
And I don't know which ones you didn't mention. I'm sorry. But again, I've shaken your hand at multiple events. I've sat next to you and Mr. Pearl at Resurrection Cemetery. And again, that's not on this agenda. This agenda item, you're bringing that up just as a personal attack on me, and that's fine, because I can defend myself.
No, you're-
No, it's my turn to speak, please. You just went on and on. Please, let me speak.
Speak.
This is a personal attack that you've created. And so I hope that the board members on this board can see above that and see that I'm not in any way saying by putting up this sign that Clinton Township hasn't gone above and beyond to honor veterans. What I'm doing is trying to make an additional contribution. And it's really sad to see that in Mr. Cannon's eyes, no one can make a contribution unless he is okayed it and he has contributed to it. And so again, I really do ask my board members here to see above the pettiness and the personal attack and vote yes on the sign. Thank you.
Mr. Cannon, I think the only attack that's going on is you, Mr. Keys, saying that he's attacking you.
No.
This was brought forward by you, which is fine. However, this does create a problem. The building committee did discuss it, and the reason it's a problem because we're a multi-purpose parking lot. In other words, if you put a veteran sign at the front, or if you would say the west portion of the parking lot for a veteran, if there's that might be fine for when we're open for business, but when there is parking or when there's soccer fields and all that going on the other side, on the east side, and the veterans parking spot is way far away, it really doesn't serve a purpose, because then we would have to have an additional veteran sign closer to the soccer field. The same holds true for the tennis, what is it called?
Pickleball.
Pickleball, thank you. That location as well. So to put a veteran sign way over here when the pickleball court is way over there. So what the final determination was that we'd have to put so many of these signs everywhere. And then there was the additional comment made by a veteran that said, you know what, our job is to serve. We're not looking to have a free parking spot. We would gladly give up our parking spot anyway if it was designed to anybody. So it kind of put them in a tough position. So that's why the committee voted it to not do it. It wasn't because it was your idea, or it's silly to think that it's just because it's you. It has nothing to do with that. You put it on the agenda. I had no problem you putting it on the agenda at this time. The reason it didn't get put on the agenda back in February was because it went to the building committee, and I didn't hear a return from you because we had voted it down, the committee as a whole. So, but when you brought it forward, it went on the agenda, no problem. So it is a no attack against you at all. So this is kind of, it's actually a problem that is more common in politicians, in that they think everybody's out to get them. So just take a breather, take a step back, and don't think that everybody's out to get you. Nobody's out to get you, so.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson.
I have the floor.
You just said thank you. That's fine.
I have people tell me that you have gone around saying because the committee turned that down, that we don't do anything for veterans in this community. And I want you to know, and that's why I brought forward, because you didn't give me any backup material. And you would be the first to complain and whine about not having backup material for an agenda item. I put this together, and this is exactly the truth, as to who was at each and every single one of these events honoring our veterans. If you want a copy of it, I'll be glad to provide it. Now you have the floor.
I'll yield to the public.
No, anyone else want the floor? Board members? Yes, ma'am.
Kathy Voss, 20215 Webster. It sounded pretty personal to me when you said to him that, or to all of us, that he's never been to any of these events, when I know for a fact he has, because I've been there and I've seen him and I've spoken to him. So right there, you're wrong.
That's not correct.
That is correct.
No, I wrote down after each event who was at the event
Well,
honoring our veterans.
otherwise, you're saying that I don't know what I'm talking about, and I most certainly do, because I have been there. One of them was at Resurrection Cemetery. I was there. I spoke with Mr. Keys. I spoke to several other dignitaries there. I spoke to people from Chapter 154 Vietnam vets. So, yes, I am correct. Thank you. I also think that you're being personal right now with him, whining and crying about things. The professionalism is not there. Yeah, so what I'm saying is, if you're going to say things to people, then you need to be more factual. And if we, the public, say something, don't keep telling us we don't know what we're talking about, because I personally do. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a problem with citing people that didn't want to come to this public meeting to discuss this, that had the issue on it. A veteran, we don't know who, the Vietnam Veterans Association, which basically that's right by my house. I'll have to go ask them tomorrow, what they had against it. But it's a matter of when you diminish a public meeting, when you blindly cite people that aren't here and say their stuff is fact, and you ignore the people that are in the hall. And that doesn't make sense, because you got a veteran right here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gilliam?
This was a disturbing and condescending display. So here's the thing. I'm going to focus on this issue of the sign. Mr. Keys, can you tell me, were you notified that the building committee was going to go on and be taking up this agenda item?
No, I was not
Okay.
invited to the meeting or notified.
Were you told that your agenda item that you wanted to discuss and bring forward was being discussed at any meeting, anytime?
No.
After the meeting where the committee voted it down, were you told that that your item had been discussed and it was rejected, and what the reasons were as to why it was rejected?
Nothing other than the minutes attached.
Did anybody call you and say, hey, Mike, we had a lengthy discussion on this and we have some concerns?
No.
We'd like to discuss with you?
No.
Further discussion?
I'd rather just vote.
I agree with Mr. Gilliam. This is very disturbing. Mike brought up something very, very nice for veterans. Who here is a veteran? Anyone? I mean, no, but anyone on the board? I know I'm not. And for this lady to park in one and for somebody to say, why are you parking there? My background is healthcare. I've seen young people have heart attacks and park in a handicapped parking spot and have people maybe get mad at them. Who's to say? I mean, you don't always wear a veteran badge of honor or something, or a handicap whatever. Who's to say where they can park? Having one out here is just a nice for our veterans. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with it, and I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Support.
Thank you. Roll call?
Can I
No.
like to make an amendment to the motion? Just a couple comments. I presented stuff, I've been here over 10 years, and I presented things to the department heads and stuff, and it just sometimes takes a long time. Sometimes it just takes a year, sometimes it takes longer to get things. I've never taken it personal. It's gone through committees, it's gone through the board, and then it's gone back out again. And sometimes the requests that I put in, I'm just one board member, and you have to have at least four to have something voted on. So sometimes it takes longer to put together the information, and I don't see whether a couple months makes any difference on this. But I did do I don't want to get involved in the personal aspect of that, what happened. But I did drive around the community, and I didn't find a lot of veteran signs. And I'm not questioning anyone's support of veterans. I've been to most of the events with you, Mr. Cannon, but I do it because I think it's important to recognize those veterans. I'm not a veteran. My father was a veteran, though, and I've had cousins that were veterans, and it's very important to recognize them. I understand, I read the minutes, and I understand that the committee had a problem with, and one of the members on the committee is a veteran. He said he wouldn't want it, but they have a problem with too many signs reserving in different areas, so you'd have to limit this to one sign. I did find, after driving through the community, at the Partridge Creek Mall, I drove through the whole mall, looking at all the parking areas. I found one sign that I think might be a compromise and appropriate. It was put out by the Wounded Warriors and says Reserve Combat Wounded. And I think that maybe the veterans would appreciate that one sign for those that are wounded in combat. And it's a Purple Heart type thing, and I have a picture of it, you know. And I'd be willing to amend the motion to allow for that one sign at the Civic Center front area.
You know, that actually is a good idea, because there is a Purple Heart Society that has brought us a flag, and we are a designated Purple Heart community. So that would add to it.
So if I can get a second on the motion
I'll make a second.
to amend the motion.
I'll second that motion.
Don't you just want to ask the motion maker if she wants to amend it?
No, I was.
Friendly amendment.
If you,
A friendly, I can make the
That's fine.
amendment. Isn't that what we usually do? But
No,
I'll
no,
make the
no,
amendment. I'll make
sometimes-
the amendment. I'll make the amendment to have it be that.
Usually, a second motion is put on the floor.
Okay, fine.
voted, but I'll, that's fine if you want to.
I think that would
Is that
be,
okay?
yes, I think that would be very
Did
nice.
you-
And we are a
I'll be happy
Purple
to speak
Heart.
on it.
And I think we are,
Who
we are a
seconded?
Purple Heart community.
Mr. Gillen.
And I think
Ms.
that's a
Graham,
good
is that
thing,
okay?
so.
Or do you want to vote?
Mr. Cannon, can I
Yes.
just, not on whether, Mr. Dillon will probably speak to that issue about whether it's a friendly amendment or a new motion. The concern, though, is even if we did this, we're ignoring the fact of the work that was done and the decision that was made in the building committee, where by placing one sign, it really doesn't, it doesn't accomplish, because we're an all-inclusive campus, it really doesn't accomplish what you may be intended to have.
It's recognizing that
Right,
group.
and do we not have
And,
that recognition?
I mean, the
Just a
mall-
moment, I have the floor. Do we not have that recognition already with the fountain? Is
No.
that not, I mean, those are,
No, what we have, Mrs. Meltzer, is we have been designated a Purple Heart community. We have a flag that we don't have a spot on the pole to fly. This would be a nice way to show that we are a Purple Heart community. And if somebody chose to park there, they could park there, and it would,
but I know that Mr. Keys had introduced a flag pole. That was, I mean, could we do a flag then on
No,
it?
it's not the
That,
same.
like,
You didn't, no, that
I
was the
Purple
same.
Heart. Right, your was a reduction in cost or free cost for
flag
for
poles,
veterans,
yes.
yeah. What if we got a flag and posted the
We're
flag?
just talking about the sign
Yeah.
right now.
I know that, but I'm saying, Mr. Keys, the reason we were saying no to Mr. Keys's request was because it was an all-inclusive campus that created a situation where really it wasn't benefiting a veteran, because there's soccer fields that are going on one side, and there's, pickleball going on at one end, and so on. So what I'm saying is if we stay true to what the committee had directed, then we wouldn't be advocating for any sign. If we want to show our veteran support, maybe a flag is a better way to do it, or some other way, is all I'm suggesting.
The mall has one. Okay, that mall has 50 parking lots and parks a lot more
Yeah,
cars
that's
than
right.
they've recognized it with one. So all I'm saying is it sounds reasonable. The committee's recommendation was a recommendation. It's not the final word. The board has the final.
that's true.
You know.
All committees are
And I'm
recommending
considering
votes.
what they said. So do we need another motion, or are the maker and the?
Mr. Dolan's got his hand up.
Okay, right now, what's happened is initially, there was a motion made by Ms. West, supported by Mr. Gilliam. Mr. Pearl proposed an amendment after dialogue with Ms. West. She indicated that she was willing to modify her original introduced motion to conform to what would have been the motion by Mr. Pearl. So we're now, with her having made that offer and no support yet, I think she was going to look to Mr. Gilliam to see if he was going to support her proposal to amend.
Mr. Gilliam?
He's,
Okay, I feel like
yeah, so, why don't you just make a motion to amend?
Withdraw. Oh.
I'll move to amend the motion to install one reserve combat wounded sign with Purple Heart at the Civic Center in the front.
I'll support that.
This is amendment to the motion.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, just to quickly speak on the amendment, I find this conversation continues to get interesting. First, it was that there were many reasons why we didn't want the sign, but then Mr. Pearl came up with an idea, and now, as I quote from Mr. Cannon, that's a great idea, and that's something we should go with. Now, again, this isn't...
And I explained why.
Excuse me. I would argue it didn't. When you first argued was that the sign was too limited, that people needed the access to parking. Now, instead of just being limited to veterans, we're even further narrowing it. So you really proved my point by supporting this motion. And so I just really hope that in the future, this board can put our personalities aside, put this pettiness aside, and just create common sense solutions for the residents. Thank you.
Well, we both made our points. I think that you were basically pandering, is what I'm telling you. And I showed you the notes that I have, and we have video of all these events.
The events aren't on the agenda, Mr. Cannon. You brought them up just for your own convenience.
To show you that this board, as a board, supports our veterans
Mr. Key,
overwhelmingly.
I agree.
may I speak?
Yes.
I don't believe that we are sitting here saying we don't support veterans. And I don't think that we're sitting here saying that we, I really personally see the sign out there, and if nothing else, it may be an empty spot. We may never have anybody who parks in it. But it's our way to say to the community, we appreciate you. And we, especially Purple Heart veterans and wounded combat veterans, we appreciate what you've done. I mean, I would love to have been able to be in the service. That wasn't anything I ever thought of. I was too heavy when I was young. I can just see me killing myself running up a hill. But I would have loved to have done it. And I have a dear friend who's the Commandant of the Marine Corps. He's #1 in the Marine Corps. And this is my way of saying, Bob Neller, thank you. So that's why I'm voting yes on it.
Mr. Cannon, can I just, to that point, because parking is a limited, when we have these big events going on, they're hard to come by. I think there's a different way to do it. I think having a flag flying that everybody sees as they walk by, how many times do you see a veteran sign? If it's one single sign, depending on where it's at, you don't even notice if it's there, where a flag that's flying all the time, I think would be a better way. I know that's not the motion, and I'm not suggesting that one be made. I just think there's a better way to do this.
See the picture? Yeah, I'm sorry.
That still recognizes the concern of the building committee.
And I appreciate what the building committee did. But to be honest with you, these minutes are my first time seeing them, or in this packet, I should say.
It's a draft. They're not even in the minutes.
Well, I know, but this is my
I don't know why
first
they were
time
put
seeing
in
them,
there.
so I don't know where they ever went.
Yeah.
So that's the big deal with it. I mean, if he didn't even know, I saw him in this packet. So, anyway, moving on.
Yeah. I'm going to have one more comment, then we're going to vote.
Okay. Well, I'm still concerned, I asked earlier who the building committee was, and I'm even more concerned now. Is this the same committee that decides to ticket homeowners and literally ignore all of the commercial properties for variances?
No, this is a building committee that takes care of the grounds here only.
Only, okay. It wouldn't be the building official who decided not to ticket citizens.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Pearl.
Yes.
Mr. Cannon.
Yes.
Mrs. West.
Yes.
Mr. Keys.
No.
Mr. Aragona.
Yes.
Mr. Pearl.
I already made
He
the
already-
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant Gilliam. I'm thinking, sorry.
Good.
Mrs. Meltzer, no.
Okay. So it passes 4-3.
No, that's the amendment.
That's the
Yeah,
amendment.
the amendment.
Now we have to vote on the motion.
Now the main motion has to be voted on.
Okay,
Just very quickly, Mr. Cannon, on the motion.
go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the discussion. Very disappointed in the way that this has worked out, but I appreciate that it's on the agenda. I will say that, and thank you to Mrs. West for bringing that concern. One concern that I hope we can address in the future is how these committees report back to the board. Having a meeting of a committee without giving notice to even the board members is something that is not productive for Clinton Township. We need to be better at communicating. So when meetings happen and decisions are made, when they're behind closed doors and not in a public meeting, those have to be brought here. And that's what I did today. And lastly, I'll just encourage Mr. Pearl, I appreciate you driving around Partridge Creek. Next time, come on the south end, go over to Freestar Financial. They have a great veterans-only parking spot that's been there for years and has great response from their customers. So there are some in the south end, so feel free to visit.
I built apartment complexes on the south end for 25 years. I worked there, so I know.
Okay. Vote on the main motion?
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
No.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, no. Motion passes.
So we'll have two signs.
One, just
No.
one.
No, there'll be two. There's,
One sign.
I'll make a motion to have a second
No,
sign,
it's two.
absolutely.
Just this one.
That was what it's going to be. That's why I wanted to put the two together. That's-
there's two signs, you guys.
One
There's-
No, there's not two
One.
signs.
One
One
time.
sign.
We
The
amended the
amended.
motion,
I'll make a motion to add a
approved
second
the
sign.
amendment, and then voted on the motion as amended.
But that passed.
One
We have
sign.
one sign, and it's going to be
One sign,
a
Purple
Purple
Heart
Heart sign.
All right, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that was Mr. Pearl's idea.
It was a good idea, too. Add-on, it was a request approval to display signs for Fans Annual Run.
I'm writing this letter to request permission to put up signage at various locations within Clinton Township for our annual Run Drugs Out of Town event. As you know, opioid addiction is a national problem that has affected Michigan in an adverse way. Macomb County still ranks high on the list for overdoses in the nation. In 2017, over 2,700 people lost their lives in Michigan. We sponsor a 5K walk run on June 15, 2019 that will attract close to 3,000 participants. Many of these individuals are Clinton Township residents. We are asking permission to put the signs up 30 days before the run, and we will take them down within 72 hours upon conclusion of the event. We will be installing signs on May 11th, and we'll have them removed by June 18th. Your continued support of Families Against Narcotics is appreciated. Please make every effort to support this event. Your attendance is important to our organization and the many families that are affected by addiction. Thank you sincerely. Linda Davis, Executive Director for Families Against Narcotics.
I'm looking for public comment.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Thanks.
They're looking to fill some out. People in the audience want to fill some out.
You need a motion to approve?
Nope, we have a motion and a second. We
Okay.
do have a motion and a second?
Roll call.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes. Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Approval of the minutes of the April 22nd, 2019 regular Township Board meeting.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Who made the support? Mr.
I did.
Aragona? Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes. Motion passes.
Thank you. Approval of the bills.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Meltzer, yes. Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Aragona?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, and I just want to again welcome all to the Memorial Day event that we're partnering with Resurrection Cemetery and VVA 154 this coming Monday at 11:30. All are welcome. We have public comment. Robert LaVos and Grace from Auburn Hills.
Other people.
Yes, I am from Auburn Hills. My name's Robert Levos.
Other people are.
My family, my daughters live in Clinton Township, and I came across a very disturbing situation about a month ago. I went to the police department after finding out that there was abuse to a minor in Clinton Township by four, not one, by four police officers. And that is, of course, my opinion, but this minor child was put in the back of the police car, handcuffed. He then got his cell phone out. He's distraught. Could be crazy, could be on drugs. I mean, there's all kinds of allegations, statements. But when the police officer noticed he's talking to his mom on the phone, the police officer pulls aside, tries to take away the phone.
Is it 27?
The boy turns and lays down on his cell phone. The police officer then approaches, gets on top, hitting him. This boy could not defend himself in any way, shape, or form. He was not a threat to anybody or anything. He was in handcuffs. I want that to be very clear. He was a minor. I'm getting animated again. Sorry, Grace. Anyway, I made a presentation over at the Macomb County Board also last week. I would like these police officers to be charged with all crimes.
Sir, that's not what this is about.
Well,
If you have an
okay.
opinion about something in our community,
That-
you're welcome to say it.
And I was hoping the police chief would be here so he could hear it, because I did go to the police chief. They referenced a sergeant to me. The sergeant said, "Mind your own business." Now, I don't know about you, but do you think that is proper protocol? For a sergeant to say, "Mind your own business, I'm not going to look into the allegations." I have the video, I have the FOIA right here that they gave me. I am asking all of you, you're supposed to be helping protect the public.
This is not the forum for that. If you want to go to the prosecuting attorney, you're certainly welcome
I
to do
sued the
that.
prosecutor. I also sued the Anthony, whatever, the sheriff, because they did not do a protocol. So I would like, again, to put this in somebody's hands. I did try and do this last month.
This is not the place for that.
Will you take it?
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
May I?
He can submit anything he wants.
This is a township board meeting where we conduct township business. At the conclusion of the meeting, we receive comments on matters relating to township business. Now, I think
Okay.
what Mr. Cannon's trying to tell you is township operates and.
Does the
throughout day-
township operate the police station?
May I,
Sorry.
please, thank you.
Okay.
We have
Mr.
regular
Dolan?
business
Mr. Dolan?
hours.
His time is up.
Okay, I'm just letting him know that he can present matters tomorrow through the administration. The board is meeting in its capacity as the board tonight. If you have concerns, you can present them through the administration. We have protocols that we follow. I'm sure that this episode will be considered and reviewed.
Mr. Bushell, are you asking to speak? Your 3 minutes? Okay.
Did he fill out?
Okay. Yep. He's got a form here.
I've got a form, yes. Well, you saw it beforehand, yes. There again, I lived in Clinton Township for quite a while before I ever came to a meeting. The reason I came to the meeting when I did was Wide Open West had damaged the road right-of-way outside of my home. And what they did, and now I even know why the guy was there. The main line is right there for all the companies work on their on that particular pole several times a week. They park on the street, they do the things. Well, all the trucks, and this was another one of the employees that told me this, the trucks have a GPS system on it. So this gentleman, the day that they damaged my property, the assumption is that he wanted to take a break. So instead of, if he pulled away from my house, he would have had a problem. And if he stayed on the street right at the corner where people had to get by, he would get complaints. So he pulled on the lawn, let his air conditioning run and the truck run for coolness, and burnt out stuff, put ruts in the grass, and the building department said they wouldn't do anything, the police department said they wouldn't do anything, and this board said they wouldn't do anything because they didn't do anything in the road right away. Now, all of a sudden, the building department, the ordinance officer, is citing people for parking between the sidewalk and the curb. And somebody that actually got a citation is here in the audience, so you aren't going to be able to call me a liar. And they had to get in there to do that to that city, to that whole subdivision, where one of the board members actually grew up in that subdivision. They have to pass all kinds of open dumpsters. I went to every entrance to that subdivision, and there is an open dumpster at every entrance at a commercial property. There again, I issued on the page 3 of the public comments, which isn't out there. I thought that should be out there so people know. To get an answer to my question, because it's a long list, it's 12 questions. But the main thing is, site plan requirements are set up for the public health, safety, and welfare. And as the building official, I know I drove you nuts, but he emailed me all day. He emailed and emailed and emailed, and I had to answer each of them. And he was literally making sure that all of you knew what he was doing. And the problem is, they're still citing homes, but he says they will not cite or enforce the site plans, even on buildings that were redone in the past 12 months. Even on a dumpster that was put on 15 Mile without, literally it's right at the road in the last month. And so this, I would hope anybody in the township that has gotten a citation, if you contact me, I will give you a copy of this email stream from today, so as you will know that each of these board members understand that the building official started out this morning saying there weren't site plans at these properties, when he found out that I already pulled the site plans, at which time I heard the phone call between you and the planner.
10 seconds.
10 seconds, okay, well, there again, you all know the building official is not doing his job. The DPW isn't either.
A motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, Mr. Cannon,
Yes.
there was one more. There were no more.
She's been asking.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
She has been asking.
I was holding them up at the beginning of the meeting, I wish you didn't see me. Sorry.
Did you want to speak tonight? You can just have her come forward.
Just-
after.
Mrs. Voss, just come forward, please. Mr. Pearl told me you were looking for him before. I didn't know that.
It was you or me?
You told me, and I told him.
Oh, so then that way it was approved then.
It's just because you yell over. No, don't go there.
I'm already there.
Okay. Kathy Voss, 20215 Webster. I just wanted to comment on the fact that I can't believe that I'm standing here saying that I see somebody someplace and I'm being told that I don't know what I'm looking at. In other words, I feel like I'm being called a liar, and I do not appreciate that one bit. I think personalities sometimes here on this board, they just get way overboard. It's totally unprofessional. I come from a military background. My sons, my father, aunts, uncles, cousins, they've all served in, and for a simple little thing like, can we have a veterans parking spot? These things are things that are just now taking off all over the place. No, there aren't a whole lot of them, but more and more places are putting them in their parking lots just as a sign of respect and gratitude to our servicemen and women who have sacrificed so much. So I don't think anybody should be called on the carpet for lack of support for military or not going to things when clearly they have been. And I don't think citizens should be addressed as such, saying, well, obviously, we don't know what we're saying and we're liars. So thank you.
Thank you. I did misspeak earlier. The event at the cemetery is the 27th of May, 2 weeks from tonight, which is why our meeting 2 weeks from tonight will be on a Tuesday night. A motion to adjourn is in order?
I think we already
I
did
think
that.
we have a motion and
Didn't you
support, right?
say,
Yeah,
Mr.
Mr.
Cannon?
Gilliam and me.
For it's at night? I thought it was at 11:30.
11:30.
11:30 in the morning, not at night. Okay, just to confirm.
Mr. Argona?
Yes.
Mrs. Melter, yes. Mrs. West?
Yes.
Mr. Keats?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.